So hello again, and today I'm reading chapter 66 through 70 in The Wild Robot. And for you all to know, there's 80 chapters in this story, so we're getting fairly close to the end. So chapter 66, The Celebration. Dawn turned to day, day turned to dusk. And just as Roz had asked, animals were gathering again in the great meadow. Word had spread across the island that the robot was throwing a party, and everyone wanted to see what the fuss was about. The fuss seemed to be about a giant stack of wood. Roz had spent the day collecting logs and branches and stacking them in a perfect massive tower. The animals crowded around it, trying to imagine its purpose, and then it saw a golden light flickering in the distance. Roz emerged from the dark forest. In her hand was a flaming stick, which she held up like a torch. She was camouflaged in thick mud and clusters of wildflowers. But her camouflage wasn't for hiding. It was her party dress. The animals watched as the robot glided across the meadow, surrounded by a warm glow. "Thank you all for being here," she said as she joined the crowd. "1 year ago, I woke on the shore of this island. I was just a machine. I functioned. But you, my friends and my family, you have taught me how to live, so I thank you." "No, thank you, Roz," shouted a voice. "You have taught me to be wild," said the robot. "So let us all celebrate life and wildness together." At those words, Roz heaved her torch high into the air. It soared up, 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 and landed at the very top of the wooden tower. A ball of fire burst toward the night sky, and suddenly the meadow was bathed in firelight. Hundreds of shining eyes watched as bright flames crept down the sides of the tower and embers floated away on the breeze. The animal stepped toward the bonfire, eager to feel its warmth, and then it stepped back, afraid of feeling too much, and soon everyone was moving. The deer started leaping, the foxes started trotting, the snakes slithered, and the insects buzzed, and the fish jumped up from the river. Brightbill led all of the birds into the air, where they wheeled around the bonfire like a tornado of feathers. Roz sprang into a wild dance, her shaggy dress shaking and swooshing with each movement. It was a wild party, and it took our robot to make it happen. Roz and the animals partied all night long. They were so busy singing and laughing and dancing that they didn't see the cargo ship as it sliced past the island. But the ship saw them. It saw the towering bonfire. It saw the robot, and it quietly continued through the darkness. Chapter 67, The Sunrise. By dawn, the bonfire had dwindled to a smoldering hill of ash. Everyone else had gone home, and only Roz and Brightbill remained in the meadow. They lay in the grass together, watching as the soft light of morning crept up from the horizon. And then Roz said, "Let us go for a walk." The robot and the goose hiked and flew up to their favorite spot on the grassy ridge. But then they kept going. They followed the ridge to the mountain and climbed all the way up to the craggy peak, just in time to see the sunrise. "I climbed up here once before," said Roz, as the sun's first rays warmed her body. "I sat on this very rock, looked out at the island, and thought I would always be alone. But I was wrong. Are you happy, Ma?" The robot thought for a moment. "I am." "I'm happy too." Brightbill closed his eyes and felt the wind and sun. There was a slight chill in the air that made him feel alive. Everything seemed just right. And then he heard a distant buzzing sound. The goose squinted to the south and saw a familiar shape in the sky. He turned to his mother and said, "Ma, there's an airship flying this way." Chapter 68, The Ricos. The airship approached from the south, like some giant migratory bird. The ship was a sleek white triangle with a single dark shadow facing forward. 3 identical robots stared out the window. The robots resembled Roz, but they were bigger and bulkier and shinier. The word Rico was lightly etched into each of their torsos, followed by their individual unit number. They were Rico 1, Rico 2, and Rico 3. The Ricos flew in a low circle around the island. They saw a smoking hill of ash. They saw mysterious wooden domes. They saw 4 dead robots scattered across the shore. The airship hovered above the robot gravesite for a moment. Then it floated up over the island and lowered itself onto a small meadow at the foot of the mountain. The engines blasted air toward the ground, bending trees and tearing grass. Then the landing gear sunk into the soil and the engines powered down, and all was quiet. A door hummed open, and out stepped the Ricos. They took several long strides into the meadow and stopped. A shadowy figure was lurking at the forest edge. The Ricos turned and faced it. They stood flush together like a sparkling wall. And then the shadowy figure began to move. Out from the trees walked some sort of 2-legged creature. It was dusty and dirty. Butterflies flittered around the flowers that sprouted from its body. One of its feet was made of wood. And then the creature spoke. "Hello, my name is Roz." Chapter 69, The Defective Robot. "Hello, Rosm Unit 7134. We are the Ricos. We are here to retrieve all Rosm units." The cold, flat voice came from Rico 1. He and his partner stood absolutely still and kept their glowing eyes locked on their target. "There are 4 others," said Roz, "but they are dead." "We have already located the remains of other units," said Rico 1. "We will collect them later. Now come with us." The 3 Ricos motioned Roz to the airship, but she didn't move. "Where have you come from?" she said. The Ricos turned and stared at Roz. "Do not ask questions," said Rico 1. "Where will you take me?" "Do not ask questions." "Why must I leave?" "Do not ask questions." "I will not go anywhere until I get some answers." There was a brief silence as Rico 1 computed his next move, and then he began to speak. 1 year ago, a cargo ship carrying 500 Rosm units was sunk by a hurricane. 495 units have been retrieved from the ocean floor. We have come here in search of the last 5, and we have located them. Rosm Unit 7134, you are the property of Tech Lab Industries. We will return you to the factory where the makers will refurbish you and sell you to a work site. You will then live on that work site indefinitely. Now come with us." "But I live here," said Roz. "That is incorrect, Rosm Unit 7134. Any further resistance will be proof of defectiveness, and we will deactivate you." But Roz had more questions. Who are the makers? What is my purpose? Why can I not ask questions? "This unit is defective," said Rico 1 to his partners. "Commence deactivation." In perfect unison, the Ricos stepped toward Roz. They raised their blocky hands, ready to restrain their target, ready to shut down the press of a button. But a loud squawk and a shriek of feathers cut them off. "Stay away from my mama!" Bright Bill swooped into the meadow and started hopping around, ready to defend his mother. The Ricos stopped and looked down at the goose. Of course, they didn't understand his words. They only heard meaningless squawks. And then they heard their target squawking back to him. "Bright Bill, get out of here," said Roz in the language of the animals. "These robots are dangerous." "What do they want?" "They want to take me away." The Ricos stared at their target, trying to understand why she was exchanging noises with the goose. And then new noises began rising up. Rustlings and shrieks echoed from the forest. Animals were gathering, their wild voices called out to one another. "Roz needs our help. Those robots want to take her away. We have to do something." The uproar in the forest grew louder and louder. The Ricos peered past Roz toward the mysterious noises, but only saw foliage. Suddenly, shadows swept across the meadow, and Bright Bill's flock dove onto the Ricos. The geese furiously flapped and pecked and wrapped their wings around the robot faces, clinging to the Ricos like feathery masks, distracting them, blinding them. Brightbill turned to his mother. Run. Chapter 70. The hunt begins. While his flocks distracted the Ricos, Brightbill darted behind them and desperately searched for buttons. He had once shut down his own mother with a click, and now he would do the same to the intruders. But he found no buttons on these robots, only smooth surfaces. Clearly, the Ricos were not designed to be shut down so easily. Giant hands swung through the air, and the geese were swatted away. Loudwing was plucked by her foot and flung to the ground. She crawled into the weeds as the others scrambled up and over the trees. A quick scan by the robots revealed that Roz was gone. The three Ricos turned and marched back to the airship. The door hummed open and the robots disappeared inside. And when they stepped back into the meadow, each one was holding a silver rifle in his hands. The hunt for Roz was on. Without speaking, the Ricos marched away from one another, fanning out in their standard search pattern. Rico 1 marched straight toward the southern tip of the island, Rico 2 marched straight up the mountainside, and Rico 3 marched straight into the forest. And that is it for today. You will hear me next time for chapters 71 to 75. All right, bye.